Dying on the battlefield is better than living in poverty. This is the message from Putin, the so-called dictator, has for Russia's young men. He promised a large quantity of money in exchange for their involvement in the battle, stating that living in poverty is not a life appropriate for men. Putin offered remuneration of up to 10 million rubles for the young men who joined the battle. He does not pay them that much in cash. Instead, he offered to write off obligations equal to the amount. This strategy is more effective than the minimum monthly paycheck of $2,500 for military services. This is an enticing temptation for young men who are saddled with debts and exorbitant interest rates. Even death benefits are covered. If they die during the war, their family will receive around $150,000. When combining debt forgiveness, monthly salary, and death benefits are combined, the amount exceeds the cumulative expected income until age 60. Young men in Russia, especially those living in the impoverished areas, enlist in the military to bring happiness to their families and escape economic hardship. This is the beginning of what can be called death nomads. The election of Donald Trump as President of the U.S. has exacerbated the situation on the battlefield in Ukraine.
If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours.
Trump, who promised to finish the war early, has become the 47th president of the U.S. Trump might be the only one in the world capable of putting pressure on Putin. However, Trump poses a challenge for Zelensky as well. Trump is likely to demand a suspension of weapons supply to Ukraine in exchange for the conclusion of the war with Zelensky. At the same time, he may pressure Putin by granting Ukraine access to modern weapons. This means that Trump's approach raises the prospect of a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. The actual issue lies in the Kursk region. This area was previously part of Russian territory. However, much of it has been lost owing to Ukrainian counterattacks. This is why Putin, by any means necessary, has summoned NK troops to this region. If a ceasefire is agreed upon, Putin risks the humiliation of losing Russian territory as a result of his invasion of Ukraine. During Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the Wagner mercenary group was a crucial force within the Russian military. These were trained mercenaries who performed tasks for money. However, during the war, Wagner mercenaries directed their tanks towards Moscow. Prigozhin, the leader of Wagner, was assassinated. Chechen forces filled the hole created by the Wagner mercenaries. These extremely skilled weapons were deployed in assassination attempts targeting Zelensky. However, they encountered major problems on the Ukrainian battlefield. Under time constraints, Putin sent NK troops to the battlefield. There was no attempt to comply with the international law concept of mercenaries. NK troops were absorbed into the Russian army by putting on Russian uniforms and changing their identification. Because they were entrenched in the Russian army, they did not qualify as mercenaries. However, because their identities had been fabricated, they could not be accepted as actual Russian soldiers. This resulted in a legally ambiguous situation. As a result, North Korea could not officially announce the deployment of its troops. If NK troops kill someone, they may face murder charges because they are not legally recognized as combatants. Furthermore, if taken by Ukraine forces, they are unlikely to be granted POW status. The number of the NK troops purportedly dispatched to Russia is estimated to be around 12,000. Approximately 50,000 Russian soldiers are currently engaged in intense combat. According to South Korea's Ministry of National Defense, a considerable number of NK troops are thought to be stationed in the Kursk region. A platoon of NK troops has been assigned to each Russian company. According to the Ministry of National Defense, NK troops have been fighting on the battlefield alongside Russian forces. Such rumors were already circulating even before NK troops were officially sent to Russia. The rumors suggested that NK troops would be sent to the most dangerous battlefields under Russian direction. Russian soldiers, despite serving in their own country's war, were dispatched for personal reasons. They put on their uniforms, risking their lives to pay off debts and raise their families out of poverty. What about the fate of NK troops fighting with them? This is someone else's war. Kim Jong-un and his administration are just interested in enriching themselves. They are being utilized as human shields in the most dangerous battles under the orders of Russian commanders. For these reasons, it is unlikely that NK troops will demonstrate strong morale or allegiance on the battlefield. Reports of hundreds of NK troops being killed on the battlefield have surfaced recently. This reminds me of the Korean War's Battle of White Horse Hill. Before the truce, many people lost their lives in the Battle of the High Ground in an attempt to acquire additional territory. Kim Jong-un is aiming to repeat this tragic history near the MDL, far from his own country in Russia. What is the war for? What is the sacrifice for? I pray that the Battle of Kursk does not result in the senseless deaths of North Korean youngsters fighting to reclaim Russian territory. I hope a wiser choice for North Korea youth, one where they seek a better life.